where they showed the actual England order, or the English order of the Rosicrucians, the York Rite, the Scottish Rite, where they actually showed the actual robes that they used for initiation. It was the same Ku Klux Klan robe. Now, anytime you see that pointed hat, that's the form of a pyramidal energy on the head. You see, based on the crown chakra. So that's an advanced form that basically they will do the decoy by showing you, making you think that it's a bunch of tobacco spitting crackers. And that's the decoy. These are the Ku Klux Klan, the more tobacco spitting crackers. But that's an advanced secret society, which started the whole Southern Baptist Convention, which started the early police departments, and all of that whole, any type of paramilitary or any type of system. So all the brothers will say they down and now they don't even realize that historically and spiritually they're working for the Ku Klux Klan, all police officers. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the if you're in New York City, it doesn't matter. It's still under the same balance, because we're talking about a Masonic order. You see what I'm saying? See, if you take it out of the southern region, we'll understand that it's one Masonic order of racist terror. So therefore, there's certain energy pockets. So you can't just say I'm conscious now and remain in something based on, well, that's all right, I can still be this and be conscious. No, there's certain energy banners that you go up under. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to see no doggone Jew being a part of no, well, European Jew, being a part of no particular system of a Nazi that has his stuff based off of Nazism. You understand what I'm saying? That just won't happen. So therefore we must understand that there's certain energy frequencies, and when you go into those particular departments, you need to look at the actual origin of that particular department and where did it come from. And basically you're supposed to quit. And I got 2 or 3 children to feed. No, it don't matter about that. Quit anyway. Even if the child got to go hungry, quit. Even if it gets so bad that the child dies, quit. See what I'm saying? That's what realm we are on at this particular time. So that can't be an excuse of, I got mouths to feed. That's a damn cop-out, and that's a particular thing that we always use to justify stuff. You understand what I'm saying? You see, to justify things. So sometimes we can't even use that particular thing. So dealing with some other things, we're dealing with this Prop 209. If you get to Alistair Crowley's book 777 and other Kabbalistic writings, in that particular book, the Prop 209 meant which is the Proposition 209, it meant to reward. It also meant to end or to delete or to cut off in some type of way. It also meant that also. And so basically, we're talking about also something Masonic that's going on with this whole Proposition 209 type deal. You see, everything is everything at this particular time. So we're just dealing with a couple of things that's going on. Like I said this in Atlanta. Go back and rent the movie Handmaid's Tale. Not because how many people saw the movie Handmaid's Tale? Handmaid's Tale. Go back and rent the movie Handmaid's Tale. In the movie, they have a group, and in the beginning of the movie, they show these black people being rounded up and taken off to concentration camps. In the movie Handmaid's Tale. Do you know, the movie was done in 1990. Do you know that the actual movie in Handmaid's Tale, when you first see the movie, there's, I think a woman named is Sally, what's her name? Sally Richardson? That woman. Sally Richardson is not Sally Richardson, that's the black girl. Miranda Richardson, what's the one that played in, the one that goes with that Liam Neeson guy now, that played in Nell. Some Richardson, I'm just trying to give her the name of the actress, but just remember Handmaid's Tale. Miranda Richardson. Anyway, when you see the movie, what I'm trying to say is that they're rounding them up and putting black people in concentration camps at the beginning of the movie, even when the credits are going at the beginning of the movie. That is actual footage we found out. So what happened was, it's not just like they got a group of people, a casting call, and they had a group of people to come out and get on the back of the actual trucks, and they showed them shipping them, calling the sons of Canaan or whatever, and shipping them out. The actual That was actual footage of somewhere in 1989 or 1990. They came in and literally put black people on the back of trucks and shipped them off to concentration camps and killed them. So when you see the movie and you see this, you'll see that it's actual footage. So we're now talking about living in a society that is so advanced. You see what I'm saying? Till we are not even capable of any kind of way of even comprehending what's going on. You see what I'm saying? It's so doggone advanced. But that's actual footage. So I wanted to deal with that at that particular time for you to that you need to deal with. Also, when Stalin killed almost 100 million people in Russia, early part of the 20th century, that was actually ethnic cleansing. Those were all black people. So anytime you see the news and they say that Stalin, how is the man, he's Russian now. This don't make no sense. He's Russian, and he comes to power and he kills almost 100 million of his own people. You see what I'm saying? That was how big the population was of black people that lived in that northern region. You see what I'm saying? That used to populate all of Europe, but had dwindled or had died out up into that particular part in the 20th century. They had a strong black Russian element. About 100 million of them. That's how many it was. And so basically when you hear about Stalin, Joseph Stalin killing these, and Adolf Hitler killing so many, that was ethnic cleansing, and that was 100 million black people that was in Russia that they actually did the ethnic cleansing on. Just like in Bosnia, the whole thing from 1991 to 1996 was ethnic cleansing. They had to kill off the last form of black people that lived in Bosnia called the Cathars or the Cathars. Get the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail. They've got a whole section on the Cathars or the Cathars in there. So that was ethnic cleansing. But the 100,000 people that Joseph Stalin killed off was a black Russian. So they will come and give you this particular information saying they killed, Joseph Stalin killed 1 million Russians. How the hell? This just don't make no sense. These people have a world, they don't deal outside of a whole world Masonic order. So Joseph Stalin couldn't kill up 1 million white people and the Illuminati don't come in and kill his ass. They don't go that way. You know what I'm saying? Steve Coker told you there's 2 districts. You see? So when you hear these, when you see this stuff and they show Joseph Stalin killed 1 million people, that was 1 million black people that were still in Europe in the 20th century they had to get rid of. Just like millions of black people that was in Asia with the Vietnam War shit. You see how it goes? And 98% of most wars now are some form of ethnic cleansing. So ancient Persia is ancient Iraq. So they had to have the Iraqi war to kill off thousands and thousands of blue-black people in ancient Persia and Arabia. And they will show what is called a decoy war, and you thinking it's some bull guy based on some oil and based on some other stuff. You see what I'm saying? Any war is a decoy or a front for something major when we get into this whole thing with Nazi Germany, which is affecting us today, which is one of the main key things which George Lucas in Star Wars is all up on. The Star Wars is every man, every woman is a star. And the Star Wars it happened between 1977 and 1997. And this is frightening when we go into this particular information line. That's the main focus that we're here tonight to deal with. Because I haven't spoken almost hardly none for the last 2 months. But I had to deal with some information that has been coming since August, and tonight we're going to get the full impact of that particular thing. We got to treat this tonight because we got to document this particular thing. And what I'm trying to say here is there's something that happened in America, and basically there's only a few of us left. Although there's millions of people, there's only a few of us actually living from 1977. And this is what we're going to have to deal with tonight, because now we have the actual information, and we got to treat this and put it on tape. And it all has to do with the whole Star Wars thing. Even Brother Delbert Blair told you that the Star Wars thing, because real knowledge is multidimensional. He told you that the Star Wars thing was something that also happened in space. But it also, with mythology, is multidimensional. And even in this book, George Lucas said when he went to do it, he went and got Robert Joseph Campbell's Hero of 1,000 Faces. And this is the basis of the Star Wars book, which is the mythology book, Joseph Campbell's hero, the hero with 1,000 faces. You see what I'm saying? And as a matter of fact, when Joseph Campbell did one of his PBS studies, or when he studied mythology, he went out to George Lucas' forum to discuss the whole Star Wars thing. So we got to get into that deep tonight. That's the main focus on this tragedy. And we'll try to treat this with some care. That's one of the main things. But let's get to a few other things at this particular time. Now remember, there's a prophecy that Marcus Garvey said on his deathbed in what, when did he die? Anybody know? 1941 or something like that? Or 1945? I know it was in the 40s. Did he die in the 40s, I think? Anyway, Marcus Garvey said on his deathbed a prophecy that I will return. And that was very spiritual. So we know that particular information. Just keep that in mind. And what it means is not necessarily mean that I will return in the physical, but we understand when the ancestors die, it's an all force. Now I explained to you, but the white boy is talking about this big cloud with the Hale-Bopp thing. I want to preface this, because you got to understand the force. And they said that this thing was big as the earth. Well, what happens is, the white people were killing so many black people until the reincarnation cycle is now broken, because it's now run out. So what happened is, these souls are going midway point. They're going to a certain region in the hemisphere, and they're staying there waiting on us. So in each soul that dies, this cloud gets heavy, just like water evaporating. So when they looked up, they said it was a hierarchy or whatever, but this thing following Hale-Bopp and all, and basically that was those particular melanated souls that's waiting, you understand, as energy for us to fight with. But also, not only is it energy, the energy is inside of you. You see, when the ancestors or when the souls die, they also become a part of your spirit. Because what we're talking about here, we're talking about energy. That's all we are inside of the physical body. Right? So therefore, once the energy dissipates from the physical body, it can permeate, because this is only an illusion that we're seeing. So therefore, the same energy that used to be your brother or sister that died can also be a part of you. You see? That's called a force. That's what the whole George Lucas thing is about. The force is all around us. So when they saw this whole thing behind Hale-Bopp, it was a bunch of souls up there. And even on our Bell show, when they had that white boy from Courtney Brown from Emory University, and he said it was a hierarchy. It was like a cosmic consciousness when they was doing it. You know, he does this remote viewing. Now, we didn't understand at the time, but in 1994, there was a group of people from Emory that was spying on the black community. You remember you got that before? The group of people from Emory, and lo and behold, we knew since 1994 that there was a group of people from Emory that came in and literally vexed the black community in Atlanta. We had a tight mixed group in Atlanta around 1994. And after 1994, those groups, they went their own different ways. And what happened is now we understood, because the spirit always come around this cracker. Courtney Brown came on the actual Art Bell show and talked about how they are the main remote viewers for the government. It's right there at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. And we understood that those were the ones that was spying on us, because we had already got the channel that there was a group of witches from Emory University that was doing spells on us and spying on us. And this cracker came on our Bell show, and I'm actually listening to the same cracker that they did all kinds of things. They hit Florence Jackson. Florence Jackson got a lot of problems. Remember Florence Jackson got a lot of problems? That's because of this Courtney Brown cat that come on our Bell show. I think in '94, maybe Delta Blair might have felt some of this particular energy, as far as a certain energy shift change from like 93 to 94 in Atlanta. And that's based on this Courtney Brown group. You see what I'm saying? These remote viewers. And basically, they came in, all the black conscious groups, black media, Florence Jackson, and all that in Atlanta. They fired on us, and they also did rituals. See, what they don't tell you is that they do different rituals, but the main people was Courtney Brown and them, and so the white boys are doing this remote viewing type thing. But anyway, what it is with this whole thing is over the earth, and they say it's like 3 times bigger than the earth. That's actual mass souls of carbonated souls. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, which is carbon, which is the basis of melanin. You see what I'm saying? Which is the basis of melanin at that particular time. Now, this is one thing we need to stop doing. Black people are constantly looking for the future. So therefore, we don't notice what's around us. The future is right now. There is no such thing as space and time. The future is right now. What we do is we look for the future. Now, I was up in Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania. What's the name of this place? Harrisburg. And real spiritual group up there. But I was talking, and they was already taking this particular knowledge and thinking how they can apply it to your children. And that's how you get fucked up. You're always thinking about your children. First of all, your child is nothing but a product of you. You're the only reason why a lot of you are open today is because you had some type of product of growing up where somebody made you open to not just the status quo. So therefore, a child ain't gonna do a damn thing if the doggone grown up don't get it. You understand what I'm saying? The information was not given to the child. They're already advanced enough to understand a certain thing. It's given to you. So what happened in all those 60s and all in the 70s is we say, oh, well, our children will get it in the future. And as a result, you see what the children are now. Deaf, dumb, and blind. So we are stuck into this future thing and we're not noticing what's around us. Go back and get the Star Wars trilogy and understand what Yoda was telling Luke Skywalker. He said, all my life I watched you, and you're always looking off into the future, but not realizing what is around you. That's the key right now. The future is now. So what the European is doing, at this particular time, because the majority of them is done as hell now, it's basically one entity that's even ruling their ass. You see what I'm saying? They just as stupid as the devil too. We'll talk about this force. What they're doing is, if they keep you looking to the future, that's a science. You understand what I'm saying? If they keep you looking to the future, that's a science in which you'll wake up and be the future. You understand? You'll wonder, how the hell I got in this mess? Just like they did in the doggone 70s. How did I get it? Because they kept you looking to the future. And the future is now, because there's no such thing as space and time. You get this? You see what I'm saying? The government came out a couple months ago and said that the males have less heart attacks if they give blood. It says the males that don't give blood have more heart attacks. Now we know that they want the blood because they don't need nothing but a piece of your hair and your blood to make a duplicate of you. Yes. Which we're going to get into tonight, because that's one of the main key things that I basically came for, to go into the history of this, and go into the history of this, and we got some actual documentation to deal with that. But they want you to give blood.
So they can drink it too.
So they can drink it. That's the whole thing with the vampirism. But one thing now is also the duplicates. That's one of the main things is the actual duplicates and all. So and there's a movie coming out about the genetic engineering called Gattaca. Yeah. Gattaca. It'll be out in the next couple of weeks. Gattaca. And that particular movie is going to deal with a whole lot of things at this particular time. And for the other people that saw the movie, the Clone that came on last Sunday, we're going to deal with that also too. But I'm deal with that also too. And basically, how you can tell whether you are not one or not is basically if you accept this knowledge at this time. Because if you are one, you cannot accept the knowledge at this particular time. You automatically reject it. That's the key. So I'm quite sure everybody up here is cool and all. If you got a damn, if you got a thirst on that, we're going to get into that particular part. Because that's one thing, you cannot accept any type of consciousness now. If they program you, we're going to get into that particular science right now. Let's deal with some other things at this particular time. Okay. What is happening now is, as you know, that based on the Europeans, and it's interesting because I got this particular piece. Go and get, anytime you deal with some stuff, deal with the Discovery Channel. The Discovery Channel will come on and they talk in double code. They talk to the people that's supposed to know what time it is. They'll say one thing. And for the other people that's done this, you'll just believe what they want to say. So they'll come on and they'll say, they have this whole thing now, they fight for these mummies. They fight for these mummies. And they're fighting for these particular mummies is because the simple fact is, they have now have the technology and they brought some pharaohs back to try to get information on how to save them. But unfortunately, a pharaoh in ancient Kemet was not a high priest. And most high priests never mummified themselves. So therefore, a pharaoh, although he was the raw symbol for everybody to understand, he was not the actual high priest. And it's interesting because in 94, I was in Bartle's bookstore and I got a book and I ran up on a book on the cloning of the pharaohs. And I think I was a couple of dollars short, and I said, well, I'm going to go and get some money when the store was about to close. And I hid the book. When I came back the next day, it was gone. And I thought that somebody bought it, but what happened was they was actually watching me in the actual store. And they came and got that book, and it was talking about how they actually cloned Ramesses. You see what I'm saying? And got some of his memory. And so they're dealing with that particular part. But it's interesting because we know, like I said, that Barnes and Nobles now has come into Atlanta, and they're doing this all over. They're now coming in Barnes and Nobles and Barnes bookstore. Those are the ones. They'll come in, and they are now running other small bookstores out. So a small bookstore that can come in and deal with occult books or particular books, they will run them out. And they'll say, well, you can come here to Barnes and we have what is called an unlimited ordering list. So basically, they want to track the amount of consciousness or the amount of stuff now that is coming out to the public. Go and see the movie Conspiracy Theory on how they caught Mel Gibson when he went to doggone Barnes and Noble. And the reason why I know they had a metaphysical bookstore by the name of Avalon that had everything in Atlanta. Now I know the white boy Charles, and I know he said, well, I'm closing now because Barnes and Nobles has got the business. I said, damn, Charles. I said, all you got to do is print some damn flyers out and plaster it around with some flyers. I said, it might cost you $5, man, and you can get all these white people to come up in here because the white people buy the stuff. This is a white boy I'm talking to. I said, so. But he was like, no, I'm closing down. And basically what it was is I think they stepped to Charles and said, your ass is out of business. Because they had another white boy named Larry up in there, and Larry knew everything. Larry knew everything. Bojan, Yoruba, everything. And Larry went crazy in 94. He ended up in the crazy house. So Charles kept the business, and then they stepped to Charles, and I think they told Charles, look, you got to get out of here. And I think the same thing happened with Samuel Weiser in New York. But all of a sudden, it just went out of business. Now, everybody knows you go to New York, you go to Samuel Weiser, because that's the oldest occult bookstore in the country. And in 95, it just went out of business. And now, you know, they got Barnes and Nobles on every corner. So what they're doing is they want to track this particular information, and people, the government want to see who's actually studying. They're not necessarily interested in what you're actually ordering, but they want to have a monitor what type of information, how much this occult knowledge is having an effect on the whole country. You see what I'm saying? On the whole country. And not just for black people, but for white people, because they understood that their particular children tried to get away from their ass with that hippie shit. You see? And they like to lost the country on with their own white people. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, they're interested in everybody at this particular time. You see, so that's very key that you understand that in this particular time. So you know also that during the Victorian times, the the 1900s, you had a whole resurgence of white people eating mummies. It's called mumia. The word mummy comes from a black substance called mumia, and from that they got the word mummy. They got the word mummy. And so therefore, they have a whole, and that's all a part of the whole vampirism type thing that's been going down too. The mummy eating and all of that type thing. But going back to the actual Discovery Channel, they were talking about trying to get the DNA from the pharaohs, and they were trying to find out whether the pharaohs at a certain part of Egypt were actually what race they were. So when they got there and all, they was lying saying they didn't say it was black and all, but they looked in this particular mummy's skull because the mummies didn't have brains in them because they take the brains out. And they said there's a black resin up in here. And right there that meant it was melon. So they were saying different things on the actual show. Enough is enough. You see what I'm saying? You know. So they put out the movie Enemy of the State. And they gave you the black guy, Will Smith. But for the mere fact that they would put out a movie called Enemy of the State and put a black man as the actual person that they're talking about, they're literally telling you that you are the enemy of the state. This is the way they literally tell you. This is the code word for most people that understand what's going on. As well as the movie literally telling you all the stuff that was actually going down. How many people saw the movie?
What movie?
Literally telling you all the stuff that's going down. And basically, this guy literally was a lawyer, and the next day, like his wife told him, he ended up with nothing. You see. So basically, you're gonna have to literally start checking out these movies, not for the simple fact based on entertainment, because that's where they're putting it all now. This is their new mythology. This is their new way of literally explaining to the world on what's actually going down. You see what I'm saying? So that's very interesting. That's very interesting that they would have this particular movie, Enemy of the State. You see what I'm saying? And literally would literally give you this particular put a black man up there and telling you what time it is. You see. So this is very key that you understand this particular time. Now, remember I told you about the coffee ritual. You're going to recap on some things about the coffee ritual. People messing with you. You put the coffee in the brown bottle. You probably heard me talk about that before. Get your brown bottle, put some liquid coffee in the brown beer bottle or whatever, root beer bottle, and write the person's name on a brown piece of paper bag and put that name in the coffee bottle, and that person won't mess with you no more. Well, if that person just so happened to be black, it probably won't mess with you. But what happened was it was interesting because I was up in Milwaukee speaking. I went up to Milwaukee in January and was speaking up there. And it was a young brother, like in his early 20s, like 21. And this brother said, he had this old cracker boss fucking with him. And he said he put that name in the brown bottle, and the next day that cracker had a heart attack. You see. So I'm just telling you, this is some stuff that actually worked. One guy had some guy messing with him, and he just went in and made up his own ritual. Because remember now, the most powerful ritual is the one that you make up yourself, because that's your own higher self telling you what time it is. And you just thinking it's your own thoughts, but in actuality, if you couldn't conceive it, if it wasn't coming from some higher source, mainly your inner self. So this other guy made up this ritual, and just made up one. Just went in and made up one because there was some cracker messing with him, and his cracker came down with multiple cancer, which means he had cancer spread throughout the whole body. And basically what it didn't literally invent no cancer or put the cancer on him. It's just that the cracker had cancer. It just speeded up the process. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I know that's quite hard for some of you people, but then again, on the other hand, we talk about spiritual warfare, so therefore, this is some things that you need to be doing, and basically that doesn't necessarily mean that you can just use these. You can make up your own stuff. And on the other hand, this also needs to happen for some of these niggas out here too. Because I got some other information I'm going to get into tonight and all, and basically I never really said anything. I have been knowing about this since '95, but I didn't really say too much about it until I wanted to find some documentation on it. And I got the documentation in this type book I put up and all, based on some stuff. And I'll get back into that also too. Based on It's something that Dr. Yart said years ago, but then again, you can't never really take anything that he says. It's a simple fact that he don't never tell you where he gets shit from. He got out 1,000 books and ain't got nobody else's name on them but his, and don't never tell you where he get nothing from. You see what I'm saying? So you know, but he did put out something called the Black Devils, and he was alluding to something. You see what I'm saying? It's just that he could have literally, it could have been worth something if he literally could have explained his sources. So therefore, you can't really take anything he says as gospel, or really, because the simple fact that he never tells you, because he wants people to believe that he's the author of all knowledge. But on the other hand, this particular information here, and it makes a lot of sense too, based on some black people that just won't do right. And we used to doggone say that it was based on black inferiority, slave mentality. But then again, on the other hand, these people can think in a certain way to get anything they want done. They can get it done. It's just when it comes to black people, they lose it. That's some bullshit. You literally got an evil aspect that's going on, and we're going to get into that particular part too, based on some stuff called counterfeit spirits. But based on the timeline when these so-called counterfeit spirits, I misconstrued them as white people at first. But based on the timeline with the so-called counterfeit spirits, now this is a whole other thing based on other than the mutant white person, and some stuff coming out of narcissism. The timeline when these counterfeit spirits was created was long before white people even got on the planet. So who the hell were they talking about? They were talking about a doggone messed up strand of black people. You see what I'm saying? That basically has been plaguing you all your life also too, and it's been a doggone confusion, because we look and we say, well, you know, we can't really say that about black people, you know, but then again,